Welcome to the suspects part of target suspect screening, where we're going to append the suspects to the method from a library, and again using these screening tools in the all ions workflow. Adding the suspects is remarkably similar to adding the targets, which we just did. So I'm going to go over here and append. So appending to the method has all of the choices, including append from library. So I'm going to choose append from the LC library. And in this case, I'm not going to pick the target one. I'm going to pick a library that has the suspects in it. Now, again, the all ions workflow, I am going to choose to pick the retention times that are assigned from either the library, because I don't have a data file with the suspects in them. I'm going to pick all ions. Again, you could pick a sub list of those compounds. I want to have 5 qualifiers if they're available, the weighted, and I'll put the M plus H species back in. So here we go, and we're going to add the suspects. Now that I've added the suspects, let me go down and mark them in that user defined, and I'll just put the marking of suspects here to keep track of the difference. So I'll fill down. Now I've added the suspects. Okay, here we are looking at the suspects. I've got masses and associated collision energies, and I'm going to use this tool in the workflow, Screening LC. Now I'm going to use all of the compounds, and I'm going to create a pattern library with M plus H for all of the compounds. And this will set the method to look at those synthesized isotopic clusters and then compare them against what we see in the actual acquired data. And if I match those up well, I build confidence in my identification of that target or suspects. Again, targets have standards, so I've got potentially a concentration curve, or standards are not part of suspects. So in that case, I'm less certain of, let's say, the retention time, but I still want to look through that long list of suspects along with my targets. So there my pattern library is created. So now let me go to adjust only the suspects. So if I go to this here and I see I've assigned those suspects, and you can see they start right at this point. So I'm going to pick that suspect there and then go to the end of the list and pick all of the suspects, because I want to adjust them all in one shot using this interface, Screening LC, picking selected compounds. Now I'm going to keep that mass extraction window. I'm going to widen the retention time window because I'm less certain of retention time. I'm going to keep these outlier setups of 0.23, coelution of 70, mass accuracy of 5 ppm or less, mass match score minimum, and 2 verified ions. So I'm going to set those criteria for the selected compounds, which are the suspects. So you see the power of that tool, that I can pick any particular compound and set its criteria. I am interested in creating an estimate for my suspects. So I'm going to use a feature in Quant called inherit calibration reference. Now you notice I've sorted these with user defined, so suspects are here and below. And I have a compound that I believe can give me an estimate, dimethoate. Now this is not uncommon to have a spiked compound, maybe a heavy compound in your mix that you could use as a response factor reference, which is the game that's played here. I'm going to copy its calibration curve into all of these suspects. So I do that, and then I fill down, and I will get an order of magnitude estimate of what's there with that particular suspect. So that's inherit calibration reference. If you don't set that, then you won't get any final concentration set for any of those hits. Let's now apply and analyze with this method that contains both the targets, and we assume we have the levels and the concentrations properly assigned, and the suspects, which don't have a concentration. So as an example, we have 2 here, and we're finishing the analysis. And in these samples, let's take a look at the high fortified. And in the case of high fortified, let's take a look at metoxerone. Now notice that the calibration curve is dotted because it's been inherited. So if I look here at the screening method, let's focus on the suspects. I'm going to take off the targets, just look at the suspects, and we previously talked about metoxerone. And you notice that all the criteria are met here except the retention time difference. So I might want to adjust the retention time for this suspect. Notice also the inherited calibration curve from a compound dimethoate response factor gives us a very large estimated concentration worth paying attention to. And then one more time, here's of course the isotopic cluster, the spectrum, and then the fragmentation at collision energies 20 and 40 shown to you all in one place. And if I put those together with the targets, I get 12 that are green, 4 maybes, and then a lot that didn't show. And that's the way to do screening for samples, to just concentrate on the hits and the maybes and look at them against fixed criteria with the tools that allow you to adjust them on a compound by compound basis. Thanks for your attention.